knows? We just started a new chapter yesterday. Yes. Yeah, we did chapter 9 and we did half of chapter 10. Right, we're halfway through chapter 10, Shmuel base chapter 10, page 20. What's happened is that David has basically controlled the whole area of the larger, greater Israel, all the way to the Euphrates, all the way down possibly to the Egyptian river, the Edom, which is the south of Israel, the east, the west, north, the whole thing is controlled. And he did a bit of research into the descendants of Shaul, and then he hears that the king of Ammon has died, Nachash, who he owes a thank you, because the king of Nachash saved one of his family when they were almost annihilated by the Moabites. All that is not written in the text, but that's what Chazal tell us is the reason for this feeling of gratitude to the king of Ammon. He died and he sent a delegation to the king of, what's his name? The king of Ammon, his son, who was called Hanun, and there they are suspected of spying. Why? Because they can't understand why the Jewish king would send a delegation which in a way violates the Torah's instructions of not seeking out the welfare of Ammon and Moab. Besides not marrying into them, it also says it's forbidden to be interested in them and to make peace treaties with them. So this they considered a violation of the Torah law, and therefore the only explanation they could put to it was that David was spying on them. So they sent back the delegation in disgrace, with their beards cut in half and their tunics cut to their buttocks. And so David saw this and they knew David would see this as a declaration of war. So they hired 33,000 mercenaries from Aram and other places around to help them in the what's the word? Inevitable, thank you, that's the way I want it. Inevitable showdown between David and them. So David is going to attack now. David doesn't come personally, he sends Yoav. Okay? Yoav is his chief of staff. And the Ammonites, I wrote to Pasuk Ches. Yeah, and David sent the whole army of warriors, which could either mean the whole army were warriors, or the whole section of the army that were warriors, as opposed to the rest of the army, which were just natural general soldiers. Vayetzu b'nei Ammon, and the b'nei Ammon went out. Page 20, Pasuk Ches, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Vayetzu b'nei Ammon, and the sons of Ammon, the people of Ammon, went out. Vaya'archu, and they Ya'archu. 3 lines from the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom of the page. Bottom of the page. Vaya'archu, and they, come on, what's the word? Aroch, with an ayin and a chof. No, aroch with an aleph is long. With an ayin, with a chet, it means and guest, an oreach. Right. With an ayin, it's like the Shulchan Aruch. What's Aruch? Shulchan Aruch. Set. To a set. So a set table is the Shulchan Aruch, right? Where all the halachot, all the rules are all arranged very neatly, so it's just ready for there to you eat. That's the idea. That's why it's called the Shulchan Aruch. Okay. Now, the word Aruch means arranged, set out. So when you arrange for battle, you make battle arrangements, meaning you line up your soldiers ready to attack. Today they don't do that really, but that's the word. Everything's ready to attack. That's what it means. Ya'archu milchama, and they arranged a war. Pesach Hashar, at the entrance of the gate. I mean the gate to the city, to the capital city. Let's call that Rabat B'nei Ammon. What is it called? Rabat. What's it called today? Right? The same place. That was the capital city of the people of Ammon, and there the soldiers are ready to do battle. Pesach means not as in a chag called Pesach, that's with a samach. This is with a taf. And if it say petach, and petach is a doorway. So the Ammonite soldiers are by the entrance of the city, where as opposed to the mercenaries who have been hired to help them, they're somewhere else. V'aram tsova urechov Ve'ishtov u'ma'acha means the forces of Aram Tzova and Aram Rechov and Ishtov and Ma'acha. Those are 4 different armies who together, where were they? Levadam, they were by themselves. Levad means on their own, right? Basadeh, in the field. So this army of the Bnei Ammon was split into two groups. The Ammonites were in the gate of the city, and the others were out in the fields. In the fields, ready to attack the Jews who were coming to attack them. Vayar Yoav, and Yoav saw, Ki haisa elav Penei hamilchama mipanim umeachar. He saw the face of the battle was in front and behind, meaning there were two battle fronts, because they had to fight the guy as he came to attack the city. He saw they've got the Ammonites in front of him. That's one group of enemy soldiers, and the others were behind him in the fields, or sort of an ambush, right? So, Vayar Yoav saw ki haisa elav, that it was to him Penei hamilchama, the face of the war, means the battlefront, mipanim, from in front, umeachar, and from behind. Yivcha, so he had to split his soldiers too. He couldn't just attack one group, because then they would be attacked from behind. He had to attack in two groups, one against the city, one against the field. Yivchar, so he chose Mikol Bechurei Yisrael, from all of the choicest soldiers of Israel. Bachur means young men, or it means chosen. Ya'aroch, again he arranged them into different battalions. Likras Aram, to greet Aram, which were the guys in the fields. Aram, etc. You have to each time go through all the list of mercenaries, right? There was 10,000 here, 2,000 there, 3,000 there, okay? So one group, the Yeser Am, and the rest of the people, Nasan, he gave, Beyad Avshai Achiv, in the hands of Avshai, his brother. I don't know why he's usually called Avishai. That's the way the name is usually written. So obviously it's the same person, right? It really means the same thing. Av Yishai. My father is Yishai, because his grandfather was Yishai. But the person who gave him the name was his father and mother, and his mother's father was called Yishai. That's where the name comes. Avishai, my father is Yishai. So he was named after his grandfather, who was called Yishai. So anyway, so he's in charge of the troops. So Yoav himself took the best men, ready to fight against the Arameans who were out in the fields, and the rest of his soldiers he gave in the hands of Avishai, his brother. Ya'aroch, and he arranged them, Likras Bnei Ammon, ready to fight the Ammonites who were by the city. So he split his men into two groups. One he'll look after, and one his brother will look after. Likras means ready. Towards. Like we say, Bo'i v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha, right? No, we didn't say that. We say, Likras Shabbos, l'chu v'neilcha, right? The second line in L'chadoidi. Likras Shabbos, towards the Shabbos, let us go. Right? Likras means towards. So one group went towards the Arameans in the field, one group went towards the Ammonites who were defending the city at the gate.
It's the second time that the Chavadi has come up today as an example of some source or quoted text. We were doing Shmuel HaNavi earlier.
Very good. Vayomer, and he said, so this is now Yoav speaking to Avishai, his brother. Im techazak Aram mimeni, I'm going to fight the Arameans. But if they're stronger than me, techazak, it will be stronger. Who will be stronger? Aram. Mimeni, more than me. V'haisa li Shiur, and you will be for me as a salvation. Yeshua, to save. Means you'll come and help me. If the Arameans beat us, you'll come and help us. The im b'nei Ammon, if the Ammonites yechezku mimcha, are too strong for you, v'halachti, and I will go lo shialach, to save you. So we're looking out for each other's interest. You will do your job, I'll do mine. If you see that I'm not successful, you come and help me. If I see you're not successful, I'll come and help you.
Opposite of Shaul HaMelech.
Yes. Yeah, because they were brothers who didn't like each other. These are two brothers who did like each other, right? Yoav and Avishai. Good? Chazak, be strong. V'nit chazek, and we will be strong. This is the general speaking to his troops. He could be speaking to his brother, right? But it's his words of inspiration before they go out to fight. Be strong. Don't be scared of these Moabites. Do what you have to do. V'nit chazek, and we will strengthen ourselves. Be'adameinu. Be'ad means on behalf of. On behalf of. Be'adameinu, on behalf of our people. Uba'ad Orei Eloheinu, on behalf of the cities of our God. So we're doing this both for the people and for the land, to defend the people from being attacked and butchered and raped by these wicked Ammonites, right? And for the land of Israel. Hashem, and God, Ya'aseh, He will do Hatov Be'einav, that which is good in His eyes. Which we hope is we will win. But I suppose it means whatever God decides to do, that's what will happen. But we need God's help. You have to be strong, you have to strengthen yourselves and do what you have to do. But in the end, the outcome depends on God's will. Okay, so let's go to fight. Vayigash, Yoav, v'ha'am asha'ima. And Yoav and the people who are with him, Vayigash. Vayigash means? Approach, very good. When you draw near to somebody, you are Yigash. Right, the name of the parasha towards the end of the book of Bereshit. Vayigash, they love Yehuda, thank you. Vayigash, Yoav, v'ha'am. So Yoav and the people who are with him, Vayigash, they approached. Okay, but it says it in the singular, probably because Yoav was the one who instigated the approach. Yoav was the head of his troops, so the approach is written in the singular because it's attributed to him, even though it wasn't on his own. Or it could be because they were all united, so it's like one man. But I don't think you need to read like that. La milchama, to war, ba'aram, against Aram, because they're the ones in the field. Vayanusu mipanav, and Yanusu means they fled. Right? Like you say in Hallel. Hayam ra'a, vayonos. The sea saw and it fled. When the Jews came, the Red Sea ran away, so to speak. Right, very good. Where's that? We say that Vayibin Tzah right when we open the ark. Right. Vayanusu, and they fled. Mipanav, from in front of it. Okay, they ran away. So we got rid of them. U'bnei Ammon, what about the other guys? The guys who were by the city gates. They don't have to run away because they can run into the city. The guys who are outside, their only escape route is to run away, run back home.
They literally just ran.
Right, they just ran, right. So they saw these fearsome Jews, and God put the fear of God into them, and they ran away. Bnei Ammon, and the Ammonites, Ra'u, they saw, Ki Nasu Aram, the Arameans had fled, so that put the fear of God into them. Vayanusu, and they fled, Mipnei Avishai. Now he's got his Yud back. Don't know why, that's the way it's usually spelled, Avishai. But they didn't have to run away. Where did they run to? And they came into the city, because they were guarding the city at its gate. So when they saw their fellows out in the fields run away, so when they saw they were attacked by Avishai, it looks like the attack of Avishai itself didn't scare them. It was like the two things together. They saw the Arameans run away from Yoav, and they saw Avishai coming. They thought, well, the same thing's going to happen to us, and they ran into the city and quickly closed the gates of the city. So that's really the end of the battle. Vayanusu mipnei Avishai vayeshev vayoshav, not vayeshev, vayoshav Yoav, and Yoav. Vayeshev would mean he settled. Vayoshav means and he returned. Two completely different words.
Because of
right. Lashuv means to return. Lashevet means to sit. Right. One's yashav, one's shuv. So vayoshav, and he returned, like in Teshuvah. Yoav returned. Me'al bnei Ammon, from being upon the bnei Ammon. He didn't do another attack. He could have attacked the city, right? Even though he could have made a siege with battering rams, whatever, he could have done, but he didn't. Basically, they learned their lesson. You insult our soldiers, you will be in trouble. So the mercenaries that they helped were hiding in the field, they ran away, and the Arameans ran into the city. Okay. That doesn't really get the message, does it? I mean, okay, so we insulted you, but we didn't actually suffer great casualties, as far as we know. The other guys ran away, and we ran into the city. But that's what it says. Yoav returned Me'al bnei Ammon, from being against the Ammonites, Vayava Yerushalayim, and he came to Yerushalayim. Continue. Vayar Aram, and Aram saw, means the Arameans saw, Kiniga. Now the Arameans were not the real enemy. The Arameans were the mercenaries, right? The ones who had been hired by Ammonites. Kinigaf, that they had been hurt. Nigaf. I just had today in Dafayomi. When you have a wound, it's called blood from a wound. The one that's talking about blood from a wound, so it's dam negef, right? Dam from a wound. So that means over here, nigaf, they've been wounded. Lifnei Yisrael, in front of Israel, means the Jews had wounded them. That could either mean literally wounded them. There'd been many casualties, but we don't know. Or it could be their pride, right? You know, with a tail between the, how do you say it, between the legs, right? That's like, right. So their pride had been wounded. And they gathered together. Okay? Now that sounds like we're going to get back at these Jews, because they were embarrassed that they had been forced to run away. So they got to get together means either get together to decide what to do, or to get their troops together to have a much bigger and larger number. Yishlach Hadad Ezer, he was the king of Aram. Vayotze es Aram, and he brought out, Vayotze, to bring out the Arameans, Hashem Me'ever Hana, that were on the other side of the river. Now the word river, if it's not explained, usually means the Euphrates River. So some of these Arameans lived all the way up there on the eastern side of the river, and he wanted them to reinforce the troops. Vayavoyu Chelam, and they came with their armies. Chayil, right, means an army. Chelam, with their armies. Different platoons or divisions came from the Arameans on the other side of the...
It's ridiculous.
Why?
Because now these guys are picking a fight just because...
It's interesting because they were mercenaries, right? But they were insulted with their pride, right? Yeah. So they got... Right, you're right.
David did nothing.
Right, correct. It's good. It's good because then David can destroy them all at the same time, right? Understand? So, but let's see. It depends who wins in the end, okay? You know David's going to win, right? Okay. Vayavoyu Chelam, and together Shovach, also Shovach, Saud Tzava, Hadadezer Lifneim. Saud, he was the war minister, he was the chief of staff of Hadadezer, Lifneim, in front of these troops. Okay, so they're ready to do battle as well. And they're probably going to come and help the Ammonites, right? Because that's they were paid for originally, even though they ran away. Now Yugad LeDavid, and it was reported to David. Yugad, it was reported, right? It's written in what we call the nifal, means in the passive. It doesn't say and he reported, and it was reported to David. This story that these Arameans have amassed their troops, where exactly doesn't say. Probably it means they come to help the Ammonites again. Vaye'esof, so he gathered as Kol Yisrael, all the Jews. Not like last time that it says all the army, the mighty army, right? That was originally. Okay, but now we need a much bigger, this is what we call Miluim. We call up the troops, all the people who are not the standing army. Okay? I don't know if David had a standing army, no, we don't really know. Right? But the point is, everybody's ready for this fight because this is a big battle because the Arameans have brought all their armies from all over the place, right? So we need all the soldiers ready to fight. Now you're going to know, yes, call Yisrael. Ya'avor es hayarden, and he crossed over the Jordan because you want to go to the Ammonites, you're going to cross over the Jordan. Vayavo Chelama, and they came to Chelam. I don't know where that is. Now it looks to me that these what's it called? Ammonites are not involved. They're hiding in their city, and the Arameans are the ones who were insulted or damaged in the first round, and they're the ones who come with their armies ready to fight. But David preempts them by coming to. He doesn't wait for them to come to him. He attacks. Yaruchu Aram Likras David, and the Arameans arranged their battle battalions towards David. And they warred with him. Yana again, Vayanos Aram, and the Arameans fled. Here it says it in the singular. Interesting. Beforehand it says Vayonusu, and then Vayanos and Aram fled. Maybe they fled all as one big group. Could be.
Wait, they fled again?
Yes, the second time.
What?
Maybe that's what
but this time with...
Even though they had a much bigger army. But King David also had a much bigger army. Anyway, David just has to go like that, Hashem helps him, he says he's a few to them, and they run away. Will they ever learn the lesson? I don't know. Ayanos Aram Mipnei, so Aram fled from the Israelites. Vayaharog David, and David killed. Who was in charge of this battle? Yoav isn't mentioned this time. Right? It says David was reported, and he gathered Israel, and no Yoav mentioned. I don't know why. It could be David says, why should Yoav get the success when it's so easy? You know what I mean? I don't know what it is. It could be on the contrary, he feels this is such a big battle, he needs him to be there. Because it wasn't just a few Ammonites and a few 33,000 mercenaries. This was a big army, much, much bigger, that had been amassed to take revenge for the first defeat. So David says, I got to do this on my own. So David went. I don't know.
Yeah, well, this story's got way more information than when David took Jerusalem. I thought that would be.
You think that would be here? Okay, I don't know. Vayonos Aram, and they fled. Vayaharog David, and David killed Me Aram from the Aramean troops. Sheva Me'ot Rechev, 700 chariots. Now it's funny because you don't kill chariots, right? It does say Va'arba'im Elef Parashim and 40,000 cavalry. But again, the cavalry are not chariots. Cavalry usually means people ride horses on their own. A chariot has horses at front. The guys who ride horses means they're on their own. So it could mean he killed the commanders of the 700 chariots. Okay? Or, I can't mean the people who have got the ranks. You actually get the chariots and there's got two guys in there and they've got 4 horses or 2 horses at the front. So it could mean there were 700 chariots of which he killed the guys who ride the chariots. I suppose that's the way to read it. It doesn't say that. In addition, there was 40,000 cavalry. What about the foot soldiers? Maybe they weren't foot soldiers. Maybe this army was primarily a cavalry. The Aish, who was he? That's the name of the person. Sar Tziva'ah, the war minister, or the chief of staff of the Aramean army. Hika, he struck by Yamas Sham, and he died there. So he was also killed in the battle. Vayiru kol hamelachim, and all the kings saw Avdei Hadadezer, those who were servants of Hadadezer. So it's interesting, you can be called a king and a servant at the same time. It means Hadadezer was like the emperor of the Aramean Empire. Okay, and in that there were smaller kingdoms. One was Aram Tzova, one was Aram Rechob, one was Aram Demesek, all different sections of it, and each one had its own king. So the kings who were subservient to Hadadezer, who was in charge of them all.
Wait, why isn't it just the king's servants?
No, it doesn't mean that. No, because that would be Avdei HaMelachim. Vayiru kol hamelachim, and all the kings servants, all the kings saw. Who were they? Avdei Hadadezer. It doesn't mean they saw the servants of Hadadezer. No, because they would say Vayiru es Avdei Hadadezer. It means the kings who were servants of Hadadezer. Vayiru kol hamelachim. Avdei Hadadezer, the servants of Hadadezer. What did they see? Ki nigfu, that they had been, again, what's the word?
Nigger.
Like strapped.
Bashed.
Yeah.
Yeah? They'd been bashed. Lifnei Yisrael, in front of Israel. Vayashlimu. Humiliated, right. It doesn't literally mean humiliated, right? It might literally means to be banged. Okay?
Injured.
Right? Injured. Right? But again, and they thought there's at least 40,000 casualties over here. At least. Right? We didn't talk about the foot soldiers.
And it started with 33,000 and then they went over the river to get
more. And so now 40,000 is, reasonable number of the army, That takes half. I don't know what, happened with them. They realized they can't do anything with this King David and his army. We're going to have to make peace. So that's what they did. All the kings who were under the control, who were subservient to Hadadezer, saw King Nigfu Israel that had been wounded or humiliated in front of Israel. Yashlimu es Yisrael. So what did they do? Yashlimu, to make peace.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They made peace with Israel by Ya'avdum, and they served them, meaning that they accepted them as their masters. Yiru Aram. Now the Arameans now had to have a new way. Lo Shia Od es Bnei Ammon. Sorry. Sorry. No. Whoa, that's a mistake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not from to sea. No. If it was from to sea, it wouldn't have that line after. You see there's a line under the Yud?
Yeah, but
there's a dot, which is the E, and there's a line after it telling you to read it Vayiru. Not Vayiru. Vayiru would mean, and they saw, from the word Ra'ah. This is from the word Yir'ah, which means to fear. Now, because it's from the word to fear, it should really have 2 Yuds. Because the first Yud means he or they. The second Yud is a root letter. The word Yir'ah, the Yud is a root letter. So if you want to say he or they, you have to have 2 Yuds. Okay. Now, sometimes it will have 2 Yuds. But because it's 2 Yuds, the first Yud becomes along vowel. Therefore, it has to have a pause afterwards.
Vai.
Vayi, because it's a E with a Yud after it. And when you have to have a long vowel, it has a pause. And then the next thing is the Sheva Na, which means it's Vayi Ru'u. After a pause, a Sheva is always pronounced. Okay? Right? Or like the Sheva at the beginning of a word, right? Ber Shochbacha. The Ber you hear because it's after a pause, it's after the previous word, right? So whenever you have a pause, you hear the two dots under there. That's called the Shvana. And then you know that this word is Yiru'u, means to fear. So, right, and that's why it has that line. That line tells you to take the pause. Yiru'u. And they feared. Okay, that was my mistake to think it means the Yiru they saw. Yiru'u Aram, and Arameans feared Lehoshia to save Od et Bnei Ammon. We're not doing this anymore, right? It looks like this second attack was also on their way to help the Ammonites. This 100,000 who came the second time, they didn't come to the Bnei Ammon because David already attacked them in Chelma, which probably is more north, before they had a chance to come to help the Ammonites. But the Arameans now decided, no, we're making peace with these Jews who had too many casualties, too many losses, too many embarrassments, too many humiliations. Let's just leave these Jews alone. And now the Ammonites are going to have to look after themselves. But now David can really get the Ammonites right because there's no Arameans to help him. Even when the Arameans helped him, it wasn't a big deal to humiliate the Arameans. But now David can focus on the Ammonites themselves, and that's a very limited number of people. It's just, they don't have all these mercenaries to help them. Okay, so that's it. The Arameans now feared to save Lehoshia, to save Od anymore as Bnei Ammon. So now we go to the next chapter, which is going to be a new war against Bnei Ammon, because we can renew our war and humiliate the Ammonites for embarrassing us when they cut off the beards of the delegation. It's a continuation of that story. We've got rid of the Arameans who were helping them. Vayehi, and it was L'tshuvat Hashana.
The return.
Yes.
Of the year.
Teshuvah means to come back. It really means there seems to be a battle season. Right? Look, Napoleon did battle against the Russians in winter, and he died. He lost because of that. Hitler made the same mistake, and he lost because of that. Winter is not a good time to do war, right? Because it's cold, there's no food for the animals, no food for the troops. It's not a good time. So the first opportunity to do war is in spring, right? When the fields are full of food, you don't have to bring food for the animals, you don't have to bring food for the soldiers. It's just you capture a field and you use that. Okay, the weather's nice. You don't have to get bogged down in all the mud and rain and snow. This is the time everyone wants to fight. You want to fight? That's the time to fight. Okay, so that's what it seems. So the original battle against the Moab Ammonites had been in springtime, right? But there's been other battles in between. So they waited till if you're starting off a battle, you wait till spring. If they start with you, you have no choice, right? But if you're the one who's doing the strike, they're going to humiliate the Ammonites, you wait till the next battle season. That's what it did. When it came round, when it returned back the next year, when it comes back to the season, Aish, to the time, Aish is a time, remember that word? Aish with an ayin. Yeah, right. There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Et Shalom, Et Simcha, Et, right? No, that's it, right? 15 different seasons, right? Et is a time.
A year.
As opposed to
time.
a pen.
Shana.
This is an ayin and a tes. It's a pen. It's an et. Okay, you have et lashili, that's a pen, right? With an aleph and a taf, it's the word that introduces the object of a sentence. Aleph and a taf. Okay? With an ayin and a taf, it means a time.
It's like atah.
Like atah, very good. Atah means now. Because that's now the time. The time is now, right? So time and now are really the same thing. What's the time? Now. Right? So now, and the same word for iton, which means a newspaper, because a newspaper is meant to tell you what's happening now, or almost. Right? That's why it's called the Times. Right? Right? Not because it's telling you the time, because it's telling you what's happening now. So iton, time, newspaper, times, it's all the same word. Got it?
Right. So if you went you now is ata ata.
Yeah, very good, right. But if you're Sephardi, you'd be able to tell the difference because one's ata, one's ata. Comes from here. The ayin comes from here. Right. See that? Hear that?
But also, if you say that, it's like speaking English in Shakespearean English.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
right.
people look at you funny.
Yeah. In modern Hebrew, you say achshav. Achshav means now in modern Hebrew. In classical Hebrew, it's ata. If you say ata, they'll presume you say it with an aleph, and they mean you. because they won't hear you right. Even if you say it with an L, just you got mixed up. Okay? All right. So et means a time. Le'et, at the time of Tzeis HaMelachim, when the kings go out to battle. So the next year, in the battle season, right, what happened? Vayishlav David as Yoav. Sent Yoav. Why? Because they're only fighting this small band of Ammonites inside. I don't know how small it was, right? But they're obviously not that big because they need mercenaries to help them. But we got rid of their mercenaries. They're out of the way. You can send Yoav again back to fight the Ammonites. Vayishlav David at Yoav. David sent Yoav esavodav imoy, and his servants with him. That means the other ministers of war, besides Yoav being the head chief minister. But it's called Israel. Interesting, it's a different group. This time it's all Israel. The same group that went to help David in the fight against Arameans. Okay, hello. This is a Navi class.
Oh, no.
Welcome. You want to join?
Mishnah.
I will. Yes, soon. Yeah, soon we'll start. 5:30 we'll start. All right. Es got vayashchisu es bnei Ammon, and they destroyed. The shachek means to destroy, right? Like when God destroyed Sodom, the same word is used. All right, they destroyed the Ammonites. Now it probably means they destroyed the villages, the open villages, and the fields, because the city of the capital city of Ammon, it says in the next word, vayatsuru al Rabbah. Now, Rabbah is the name of the capital city. Do they still call that today? Right? It's called Rabat. Right? The capital of Amman. Sorry. It's today called Amman. Right? In those it was called Rabat Amman. Rabat means big, the capital. Okay? So the capital of Amman was called Rabat Amman. Okay? Alright. So that was called Rabbah. Like Yatsuru means to besiege. So they laid siege. So you couldn't destroy it and then laid siege. That's silly, right? You lay siege and then destroy. That's why I said the word destroy means destroy the villages around, or the fields around, which were outside the city, and then they sieged the capital. The David Yoshev Yerushalayim. And David is chilling. Very good. So according to the Malbim, this is the first problem. Why is David chilling in Yerushalayim when his soldiers are besieging Rabbah? You could say, well, David's the king. Kings have to king, right? Right? And he sends his soldiers out to fight. But we do find that there were times when David did fight. In the previous battle, David went out to fight. In the one before that, he sent Yoav, right? But according to Malbim, this is the first flaw, which leads to other flaws, which we're about to read probably the most famous story in David's life.
I know the story.
Right? I'm sure you know the story, right? It's a story that has tremendous ramifications. It's majorly misunderstood, right? It gives David a terrible bad name, big blotch on his CV, right? And it was really very important to spend a lot of time on this story to see the way it looks from the simple reading of the text, where Chazal read the story. Why do they read it like that? How do we deal with this story? Why do we still read David's Tehillim after reading the story? Right? Because many people say, as my Rebbe said to me, I should read his Tehillim. Let him read my Tehillim. You know? David comes out in very bad light from this story. Okay? And partly of our responsibility to put it in a better light. Besides the fact, if you read the story properly, you'll see it's really not meant to be understood, as bad as it looks. Okay, but that according to Malbim was the first flaw. Why, David, are you chilling in Yerushalayim? It doesn't even say, like before, he sent them out. I understand David's in Yerushalayim. It points that out. Before, and it didn't say it. It says he sent Yoav to battle. Where's David? Where we don't expect David to be. It doesn't say. Here it says he's settled in Yerushalayim. David's fine. He's comfortable. He's got his feet up on his armchair. Right? No, he's doing. He's probably learning, right? But he's like, it looks like there's a certain disconnect from what's going on there. Okay? Vayhi le'es erev, and it was le'es time towards evening time. Vayakam David got me'al mishkavo, from his bed. Whoa. That means he was asleep in the afternoon, right? Siesta, as they call it. Okay, I understand that some people do, but we're not talking about some people here. We're talking about David HaMelech. David HaMelech, the sweet singer of Israel, a guy who runs the country. He goes for the afternoon schluff. Again, I wasn't there. I can't judge him. Maybe he stayed up all night learning the night before. I have no idea, right? But again, the apostle's pointing this out. And this is a feature in the story. He got up from his bed. Usually we get out of bed in the morning. He got out of bed in the evening, which means in the afternoon he'd been asleep. while his soldiers are in the trenches, right? Again, I'm not being critical of David's stand. Yeah, there's a story behind this. Whatever. And where did he go? And he went for a walk. That's what Yishalech means. He went for a walk. Al Gag Beis HaMelech, on the roof of the palace, on the roof of the house of the palace. Vayar, and he saw from his rooftop walk Isha, a woman, rochetzes, washing. That's what it says. That's what it says, right? You can't get out of it.
Washing her clothes?
No, it doesn't say he looked. No. What they say in Aish, the first look is free. That's what they say in Aish. First look is free. It's when you look again. That's.
It's like, what if you just don't take your eyes off?
No, it's still different. That's the second one. Right? That's what you're not allowed to do.
It's like going for a French fry and just going like this with the fry and the ketchup. It's like, nobody does that. Yeah.
Okay? He saw this woman. Now, presumably, women didn't normally bathe. She couldn't be having a shower or a bath, right? In a place where you could see it from the palace roof. That's a bit strange, no? Women know they close the curtains, right? You don't have a full view of the palace roof unless you want David to see. But I was suspecting of someone doing that. Although I did hear a tour guide who suggested that. But no, I think Chazal don't like that partly to suggest that. We're talking about a great woman who eventually became the mother of Shaul HaMelech, right? I'll ruin the story for you, right? And Chazal's view of this woman is a great tzaddikus, right? So she wouldn't be bathing, having a bath in a place where she thought that she could be seen. So Chazal's take on the story, she was bathing behind a curtain, and the Satan came and ripped the curtain open. Satan meaning a malach that God sent to entice David HaMelech. Means David was set up by the Satan. Okay. That means this was a real test, what David's going to do now. But it wasn't this woman was bathing there for all to see, right? There was a curtain that was now pulled open. Okay.
And what about, there's no way you could misinterpret it as like washing your clothes or something?
No. That's a different word. In English it's the same. Wash clothes in Hebrew is lechabes, not livuchot. Livuchot means to wash itself, bathing. Maybe she was going to the mikveh, could be anything, right? It doesn't have to be washing with soap, right? But it definitely means washing in water. Me'al Hagag, and he saw a woman bathing Me'al Hagag from on top of the roof. Again, it doesn't say that he stood there oogling her, right? No, it doesn't say that. It just says he saw. Now, it tells you a fact. And this woman was exceedingly beautiful. Right?
Good.
And the woman, toivas from the word good, mare, appearance, from the word ro'eh, ma'od, exceedingly good looking. Okay.
I'm like the guy who wrote the cell side of Koshan.
Yeah.
And they definitely took a second look.
No, you would. It doesn't say that. No, it does not. Wait a second, it doesn't say. It does much worse. Vayishlach David. Wait a second. Vayishlach David, and David sent, means he sent someone. Just a minute. Vayidrosh, and he inquired. La'isha, about this woman. Means from a distance, she looks great figure, right? But who is she? It could be he didn't see the front. I have no idea. So he didn't know who this was. Right? Oh, could be he's no idea. You think David knows the women in Yerushalayim? You imagine David doesn't know women in Yerushalayim. He doesn't go to the ball or go to the pub.
Apparently he was like the needed checker.
He was the what? No, so what? The Rosh Hashiva also is. You think that means the Rosh Hashiva knows the women? No, it doesn't work like that. The needed checker doesn't mean you know the women. It means they bring the thing to his wife, and his wife brings it to the Rav. That doesn't mean the woman comes to the Rav. It doesn't work like that. I mean, it could work. It's okay for the woman to sit in the Rav's room and he'll answer her, right? But it doesn't have to be like that. Just because David checked all the shilas that women brought to him doesn't mean he knew them, right? No, it doesn't work like that. No. Usually, often they bring it in an envelope and they put it in the Rav. It doesn't work. It does not. It's very cynicistic, right? Okay, right? Sometimes the Rosh Hashiva's wife will decide herself, this isn't that shilah, give it back. You don't waste his time, right? But usually it gets passed on to the Rav, but the Rav doesn't actually speak to the woman. So it's unreasonable that David knew women in Yerushalayim, but he saw this gorgeous woman, he wanted to know who she was. Look, David's allowed to marry her, right? Maybe she's single. In those days, Chazal said she was going to the mikveh, right? That's why she was bathing, right? But even single women went to the mikveh in those days, right? Because you can't eat truma if you're tameh. You can't go to the Beis Hamikdash or have a carbon. So single women went to the mikveh as well. So he has no idea who this woman is. You understand? You know, if you're naked, single women and married women look the same. Married women have their hair covered, but if you're naked, it's all the same, right? So he's no idea. So he sent, to find out who she is, maybe good shit. Look, he's got 6 wives already, but another 1 or 2 won't do any harm. Especially as good as one like this. Well, what's the big deal, right? He can afford it, right? Why not? Okay. At the moment, we're reading a little bit negatively, but you have to read the whole story and see why Chazal have got a whole different take on a lot of the background story. We know it's going to take us a while to get through the story, but we'll just introduce it, give us an appetite to think about Shabbos. And he said, I mean the guy who investigated who it was, right? Haloi, is this not Bathsheba? This is Bathsheba, Bas Eliam, the daughter of Eliam. Now, if I say that to you, that sounds like you know this. Don't you know who this is? You wouldn't say, isn't this, if the person's got no idea who it is, right? It's only because I expect them to know who it is. Okay, I haven't got any questions why you don't know, because you don't know it that well, right? But it's obviously somebody who you know, if I say that to you. And the question is, why would David know who this woman is? I mean, was she famous? Now, it's true, if you're looking later on chapter 22, this fellow called Uriah, who is the husband, was one of David's generals. In chapter 22, I think it says, there's a list of 33 generals in David's army. So you could, if you wanted to, say, yeah, they used to have, they have the mess party, where the generals come with their wives and they have a bit of a drink, so David was introduced to all their wives. You could read like that, but I think because you're used to 20th century war films, right, where that happens in Goysha armies. It's hard for me to believe that in the ultra-Orthodox religious King David's lifestyle, that I would like to believe that and I have no proof that he was also Orthodox, right? But in my assumption that David was a big tzaddik, it's hard to believe that they had general parties where they were introduced to people's wives. So I still feel it hard to. It could be. I'm just putting down a facet from the story you should remember. That the person comes back with a message, expecting David to know who this woman is, right? And you might want to wonder, why does he think David knows who this woman is? Hello, is this not Bathsheba, Bas Eliam, Aish Uriah Hittite, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Now, why do Hittites live in Jerusalem? Well, not to be. Hittites was an ancient Canaanite nation, and he was a Hittite. He could have been a Hittite convert. He could have been he was descended from Hittites. He could be he lived in an area of Hittite, but he was actually not. Whatever, that's his name. Uriah Hittite, very famous fellow, Bathsheba's husband. We count one more pasuk? Yeah. Vayishlach David malachim. This is the incriminating pasuk. So far it's okay. Just want who she is, right? Vayishlach David malachim. So David sent messengers. Vayikacheha, and he took her. Yeah. Doesn't say by force. There's no reason to read there was rape involved in this story. It doesn't say he took her by force. It just means, I mean, there's a certain element of force, because when the king wants you to do something, you agree, but you can't blame the king unless it doesn't say that he did anything. It says Vatavoy Elav, and she came to him. It doesn't say he dragged her. No, he sent messengers and they took her, but she came. Sounds like she came of her own.
He knew that she was married.
He knew that she was married. Yeah, he just wants to have coffee. Wait.
If I invited a married woman to quote unquote get coffee, I would never hear the end of it.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. No, that's
king or not.
No, because that's in your society. You're only allowed to have one wife.
But you said
he had 6 wives already.
She's already married.
She's still married.
I see. Actually, she's married. Yeah, it's a problem. For sure, it's a problem. No, correct. But where's her husband?
At war.
Whoa. David knows her husband is not home. David sent them all to fight.
Is it not worse?
Of course it makes it worse. I said this is the incriminating pasuk. Vayishlach David malach, he sent messengers, vayikacher, and he took her. What I want to point out, it doesn't say that he forced her, but it does say he took her, but then it says she came, which is funny, because that's a contradiction. You should say she came and he took her. He took her means there wasn't much choice, right? Because she was the king. On the other hand, she came of her own volition, which because she's a big girl and she can say no, she can't blame the king when she's a married woman. Okay? Elav, she came to him, Vayishkav ima, and he lay with her.
Wait.
Vayishkav. Now, lay doesn't mean lie next to her. Doesn't mean that. It means he had sexual intercourse
what's
with
the
her.
actual translation?
Vayishkav, and he lay. Ima with
I
her.
thought there was no thing for sleeping.
No, there isn't. It just means to lie. If I go,
literally just means to lie down.
Yeah, it means to lie down. Literally, it means to lie down. Right? But I'm saying it doesn't mean to lie down next to her holding hands.
Yeah.
I'll prove to you. How do I know? Carry on. But then you've got this strange thing. That he and she, miskadeshes, had been sanctified, mitumasa, from her impurity. And that sounds like what it's trying to say is that she wasn't a nida. That's what it sounds like it's saying. Don't worry, guys, she wasn't a nida. That's what it says. There's no other way to read it. Tumasa means her impurity.
But they're saying that she was just getting prepared for.
No, she couldn't be. That was the shower. She was. That's why he saw her.
That's what that sounds like.
Yeah, she was just left the mikvah, and he noticed. That's why she was.
So it's not like it's saying that through the act of which they just performed.
No. God forbid. That's a word. No, the only way to become pure from your impurity is to go to the mikvah. So that's funny. Why the author?
He knew.
One second. He knew. Yeah, but that's the author of this story is adding this at this point, as if to say he had relations with a woman. Oh, you're shocked. This woman was a nida. How could David do that? Right? I mean, he should have found out first, shouldn't he? Her husband's away in battle. Oh, don't worry. She wasn't a nida. But she was a married woman. Like, where do you care if she's a nida or not when she's a married woman? No, I do care, but certainly adultery is much more severe sin than having a relationship with a nida. Look, having a relationship with a nida is also severe, but adultery is a million times much worse. So making it 999,999 instead of 1,000,000 is a bit silly for the author to mention this fact, unless it makes a big difference.
It's like saying somebody was going 140 in a school zone, which is 25, but he was wearing a seatbelt.
Right. That's the question. So why would...
It makes a difference.
Yes, it does. You're right, it does make a difference. But why would the author point that out? You know, it might be mentioned in court, yeah, but he did have a seatbelt on, so we shouldn't put him away forever, right? But, okay.
Because at least he has value.
The guy's zone line.
What's the last few lines? And return to his house.
So that's I'm trying to point out the difficulties with the story as we go along, to read it the way it's normally read. He miskadeshin, she had been okay. But Toshav Besa, she went back home. End of the story. So now, how do I know that it was actually real sexual relations? Because it says in the next verse, Vatahar ha'isha, and the woman became pregnant. Oh, now you've ruined it. You know, if you hadn't become pregnant, it would have been one night stand. No one has to know. You'll go back home. Finished. Your husband will come back. Right. Don't tell anybody. You don't say. I won't say. But she became pregnant. What are we going to do now? So now they say, "We have abortion," right? God forbid. Right? Shut up. No one would dream of doing that. That's called murder. Even David's not going to do that. Even if you look at David as an adulterer, right? He did that on the spur of the moment, let's say, right? When he has, but to cold-blooded murder, to do an abortion to this fetus, so what's he going to do? What do you think he's going to do?
No, I've got an answer to your questions.
My questions?
All of them.
Vatahar ha'isha, and she became pregnant. Vatishlach, and she sent a message. Vatagei leDavid, and she told David. Vatayme, and this is what she said. Hara anochi. Hara means I am pregnant. Now what are you going to do? David, what are you going to do now? We thought we'd get away with this, didn't we? No one has to know. Why did she think she wouldn't become pregnant? I know, she just been to the mikvah. Isn't that the best time to become pregnant? It's true, mikvah night is the best time to become pregnant. So that's only nowadays. That's interesting.
Yeah, because of what's it called?
In those days it wasn't. That's exactly what she thought. You see, nowadays we wait, after a woman becomes a nida, we wait 5 days before she starts counting, and then she counts 7 clean days. So she goes to the mikvah after 12 days from her period. And that's almost exactly when a woman ovulates. In those days, they didn't have 7 clean days when a woman was in nida. They only had 7 days. Right? There's no 7 clean days. 7 clean days is a much more recent version of it. Right? I mean, it's not so recent; it's at least 1,500 years old. But it's much more recent. In those days, they only had 7 days. So 7 days after your period is before the woman ovulates. So she presumed she wouldn't become a nida.
Yeah.
Right? She wouldn't become pregnant. Well, all these contraceptives are only 98%. You know, they're never 100% foolproof, and sometimes messed up. What's she going to do now? What's she going to do? What's David going to do? This is going to be the biggest scandal in Jewish history. King David, we all read his Tehillim, right? Everybody in the country, and he's this big tzaddik. He learns Torah all day, and he's a big tzaddik. He fasts the whole time, right? And he had relations on the spur of the moment thing. So, he's a bad guy, but he can't control himself. How can he show his face in shul tomorrow morning? Right? When everyone knows, you can't do that because you get your head chopped off because he's the king, right? But David knows what everyone's going to say behind his back. Maybe he's going to have to give up the throne. Maybe yours will take over. Maybe it'll be a civil war. Like what's going to be now? The consequences of this scandal are enormous.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well, that's
the question.
Bring your paragraph to him.
Well, that's nice.
So much more sense.
No, but no one's going to read. No one's going to read your Tehillim anymore. If you can't control yourself, then who are you to tell me what Tehillim to say?
So again, I'm still going to.
Okay, we have to read a lot. There's long stories, like 3 or 4 chapters at least, just of this story, and then we'll have to go discuss.
So Hashem obviously put him in this situation, but your questions are all like how he got there. Ready? And this is all of these answers in one word. Shabbos. Right? How this answers it is wait, listen.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So you know how Adam and Eve? Adam met Eve when he had his afternoon shluch before Shabbos, and then Hashem pulled him apart. So this is hinting to the divine. He was having his sleep before Shabbos because he was going to do the whole thing, and he was like, "Oh wow, she's going to be alone for Shabbos, right?" So he's doing the pre-Shabbos walk to Shiur, whatever. She's going to be alone for Shabbos. I'm going to invite her over. Then they got drunk at the Kiddush wine, right? This is like the sin of the fruit. And then that's what led them. And these are all like consequences that came up. And then she went home after the Shabbos night. It was like, oh, that was a pretty crazy Shabbos because they're like celebrating. And then one thing leads to another. And then like Hashem literally just put the situations. And when you put in so many, you can only control your willpower so far. And so Hashem put him in a situation
that you don't know how close to the truth you are.
Really?
We have to play it out. It's a long story. You also have to remember that David's life was given to him by Adam Rishon. The 70 years he got from Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon was meant to live 1,000 years, and then God said to him, "There's a baby here he saw a brief version of history. A baby here that's going to die in childbirth. But if he were given life, he could rectify your sin." So Adam says, "I'll give him 70 years."
Yeah.
And we're going to see. That's exactly what this test is. This is the test to rectify the sin of Adam Rishon. Exactly what you're saying. Right?
Wow.
But he messes up again, just like Adam messed up.
Does it have to do with Shabbos or not?
What?
Right. We'll see. We'll have to go more into it. You're on it.